Hello and welcome back to another episode of SitWithShy. Today I'm going solo to talk about burnout, fatigue, exhaustion, feeling tired, you name it, just generally feeling tired in our day-to-day lives. In our society, we have created a hustle culture where we constantly push ourselves to work hard and to do more, which is good in the sense of being productive to achieve the things that you want to gain, but we're also neglecting the importance of sleep, rest and recreation in order to give ourselves a better quality of life and to avoid burnout. So I guess the real question is, how can we do better and get better if we're not feeling better? In honour of Mental Health Awareness Week, I thought that I would shed some light on burnout and the effects it has on our body and mental health. Feeling stressed, overworked and tired can negatively affect our well-being and ultimately impact our quality of life. It's not all doom and gloom though, as throughout the episode I'll be sharing with you some tips and advice to combat burnout and generally feel more energised and better within ourselves. So I thought a good place to start would be to probably define what burnout actually is. I was having a conversation with someone the other day and I was surprised to know that they actually didn't know what it was. So according to Mental Health UK, the official definition for burnout is a state of physical and emotional exhaustion. It can occur when you experience long-term stress in your job or when you've worked in a physically or emotionally draining role for a really long time. So burnout is actually a lot more common than we think, and to be honest, a lot of people may not even know that they're experiencing it. So with burnout, there's a few things that you should probably look out for, or maybe you can identify these things in other people as well. So firstly, feeling tired and drained most of the time. Obviously, naturally, we're going to have days where we feel really tired, or we're going to have moments where, we just generally don't have any energy because it might be that we was out late last night or up late and we had to wake up really early. So if it's just a one-off, yes, of course, you're going to feel a bit tired. But with burnout, if it's a continuation or day in, day out, you're feeling really tired or drained and you can't shake it, it might be a sign of burnout. Another one is loss of motivation, ideals and hope. So for some people who experience burnout, they may not be able to see the end of the tunnel or to see that maybe their situation or circumstances might be changing a little bit. And in that way, they might find it hard to be a bit hopeful because they might feel a bit stagnant in their situation. And then another sign is like feeling hopeless, trapped or defeated. So maybe that individual is stuck in a job where they might not be happy, or a situation outside of the work sphere where they also might not be feeling that great and they might feel as though they actually can't escape that situation. That could be categorized all as elements of burnout. So considering that we have a lifestyle which is very much get up and go and our days start really early, it's so easy to fall into the cycle where we go to work, come home and just rinse and repeat. And being set in this cycle can definitely lead to us feeling drained and tired overall. According to ukhealth.gov, most adults need between 7 and 9 hours of sleep every day. So to place that value into perspective for us, we spend about a third of our lives sleeping. A third. So that's actually a lot if we think about it. And I feel like this is interesting because although for like most adults, 8 or 9 hours is the recommended amount of time for us to sleep and to rest, if we're being honest, for the average adult, this isn't the case. And I feel as though we've developed a culture where we constantly push ourselves to our limits. And as I said, although it's a great work ethic to have, we also need to acknowledge and value the necessity of sleep. Our demands at work can genuinely be a lot, and that's for a lot of sectors. And oftentimes we require a lot of energy, time and focus for those roles. And if we're dedicating all of our time to our work, but not talking to other people maybe about how we're feeling, or especially not taking the time out to look after ourselves and invest time within ourselves, we can become so tired very, very quickly. And I can only speak from my experience because I don't know if I mentioned it before on here, but I'm a teacher. And honestly, most of the time I'm getting up really early and I'm going to bed quite late. So I need to be at work for 8, which Doesn't sound too early, but obviously when you're factoring in actually getting up, getting ready, and then the travel, you are getting up quite early, and then on top of that getting home late, because obviously you leave after the students leave the premises, and then it's just so tiring because it's not like the work is done once you're finished with the school day. Then you're actually taking that stuff home and you're doing lesson plans and markings at home, so it almost feels as if the work never ends. And then when I sit back and think about it, throughout the whole day, you're kind of under a lot of pressure to meet certain deadlines and demands, and you have to generally manage the behaviour of some really difficult students. So if you're thinking about it, like your levels of cortisol, which is the stress hormone, are rising so much during the day. And there's loads of adrenaline because it's kind of like you're going go, 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 go. And there have been times where I've been like really trying to push myself throughout the day because I feel so exhausted, but I know that I have to give a lot of energy to the students that I'm teaching in front of, because obviously you want the lessons to be engaging, and obviously energy is reciprocated. So if I'm giving out a lot of energy and I'm like going around the classroom and giving out all these like actions and movements and stuff like that, obviously the students are going to be more engaged and they're going to like reciprocate that as well. But I've honestly learned to try and factor in some time to rest and recuperate, because it did feel like a rinse and repeat, like going to work, doing the work, coming home, doing more work, and then allowing myself a little bit of time to sleep, like going to bed really late. And it is hard because I remember there was even a time where, especially winter time, imagine you're getting up in the dark and you're coming home in the dark, like you're not seeing daylight. So even that can affect your mood, and it kind of can make you feel a bit irritable as well. So definitely allowing yourself some time to switch off from work. What I've said for myself as well is to try and get as much work as I can done actually in the building. So it means that obviously the amount of work that I'm bringing home is a lot less. So that leads me on naturally to my second point, which is difficulty to manage work and life balance. So according to one survey, 31% of employees in the UK felt as though they do not have a good work and life balance. And honestly, guys, I could put my hand up and say it's taken me a long time and I'm still learning how to balance work and life. And what I mean by that is it's so easy to be caught up in the daily tasks or things that you have to do Monday to Friday, but it's also so important to invest your time in your rest, and then on top of that to do things that you actually want to do as well. And it's essential that we're making our own needs become fulfilled and we're getting enough time to do the things that we actually want to do. So if we actually think about it, most jobs are or require us to work like 8 hours a day, unless you're working like overtime. And that's 8 hours of output. That's 8 hours of our energy being poured out. And maybe even if you consider it, if you're an introvert, even that, it just makes you feel even more tired because you're obviously having to go above and beyond to pour out more energy into these things and into these people where maybe you don't naturally have that energy reserve. And so there can be a lot of difficulty when it comes to that. And I think as well, just distinguishing between work and leisure. Like last year especially, I was so focused, or worried should I say, about how am I going to get this done? How am I going to get this lesson plan done? Oh my goodness, I have this meeting and that to do the next day. And it just got to a point where I was coming home and I'm not able to switch off. It shouldn't be the case of you coming home, especially into your bedroom, which is supposed to be a place of like rest and peace and stuff like that. And you're still ruminating about what's going on throughout the day. So we kind of need to distinguish between work and leisure. And then lastly, employees can actually work better when they are more rested. So that means you can give more to your work if you generally feel like you have the energy reserve to give. And we have to remember that we can't pour into a glass if we ourselves don't have anything to pour out. So it's so important that we're making sure that we feel good mentally, our well-being is good, and physically that we're feeling good as well. So there's a few tips I want to share with you guys to help you kind of manage work and life balance. So the first one is meeting your deadlines at work. So if you can try and get everything that you need to do done out of the way during the work hours, then obviously that means you're not bringing that stuff home. And then also it allows us to have time for friends, hobbies, family, relationship, things like that. And it's so important for us to do these things which are not work related and that we find enjoyable. So recreational and leisure time allow us to kind of like take our mind off of work and do something that makes us excited. So for some people, it could be hanging out with your family, your friends, or your partner. But to be honest, it doesn't even have to be anything social. Like for me, myself, I find joy or pleasure in sitting down and reading a book. To me, that's a form of escapism, and it kind of allows me to get out of my head and stop thinking about all the things that I need to do within that moment. I know that for other people, it might be gaming. So some people, they really enjoy sitting down and gaming for a little while. Or it could even be as simple as going for a walk in your local park. Like whatever you enjoy, go and do it for a little while. Especially when it comes to your weekends. If you can help it, try and get your stuff done throughout the working week so you can give yourself at least Saturday and Sunday to rest and recuperate. That would be really, really good. The second thing that I would probably say is having enough time to sleep properly and eat well. Sleeping allows our body to repair itself, and it also puts our mind at rest. So as you know, as you sleep, your body's able to replenish and heal itself from the hard day that you've had. So sleep is also known to help to improve our mental health, mood, and our overall bodily function. So if you find it difficult to fall asleep, some things that you can do, first and foremost, are exercise. So I remember late last year and early this year, I was on a gym thing. Like I was going to the gym, I was working out, I was exercising. And if I'm being very honest, I did notice a marked change in my ability to fall asleep faster and an improvement in my overall mood. Like I wasn't feeling as grouchy. Like obviously I'm still tired sometimes when I wake up, but I'm feeling a lot better. And when I'm going to sleep, I'm able to fall asleep a lot faster. Now, between me and you guys, I've fallen off of the gym thing, but I am looking to start back again because I did notice some changes, and those changes kind of started on the inside, and I was feeling a lot better for it. Another thing that I would say is to switch off your phone. So for me, it's so easy to like scroll through like TikTok especially, and even YouTube shorts. But switching off any electrical devices an hour or at the very least 30 minutes before we go to bed is really important. And that's because the light within your phone, it kind of sends a signal to your brain that it's time to get up. And obviously, if you're laying in bed and you're scrolling, you're not signifying to yourself that it's time to go to sleep. So if you're coming off of your phone or if you're coming off of any social media apps or anything like that, you're just allowing yourself some time to kind of just be still and be quiet and to try and fall asleep. So with me, because I know that I scroll a lot, I've set myself as well it's almost like a lock or a timer on TikTok that will kick you off of the app after, let's say, like 30 minutes. And then you have to put in a password to be able to use it again. So that's something that I would recommend that you do, because I have noticed that it does help. And obviously it will require some discipline as well, because you could easily just put the password in and then just keep scrolling. But at least it's like a reminder to you to kind of come off of it and get some sleep. So I would also recommend as well eating well. So like think of your body as an engine. If you're filling your body with crap or things that aren't good for you, how do you expect your body to run well? So what I would say is probably eat loads of healthy foods where possible. So loads of fruits and veg. If you can also drink lots of water, that would be good. So with me, I know that I don't drink the amount of water that I actually should drink per day. And it's something that I've been working on, trying to up my water intake. And I have noticed, to be fair, on those days where I'm so tired and I will have like a really bad headache, I've noticed that by backing a bottle of water, maybe a litre, not all at one time, like obviously spaced out, but drinking that or putting those fluids into my body, I've noticed that my mood also has slightly improved. So definitely try it. If you're one of those people that find it hard to drink water, then possibly you can try and start small. So the volume of water that you're going to drink, maybe start out at like 500 mils a day, then move up to a litre and a litre and a half, and then so on and so forth. And then as well, if you don't like the taste of water, potentially you could mix it with something like a squash or a Ribena or something like that, just to make it taste like something. But definitely there's a link between healthy eating and sleeping that could make us definitely feel better. And the last thing I would say as well is not worrying about work when you're at home. So for me, I have definitely tried my best to make it a habit or routine where I try to not complain about the events that's happened at work. So obviously you'll have the odd day where you'll come home and it'll just be like word vomit, blah, 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 talking about whatever's gone on, whatever's bad happened throughout the day. But I've noticed that when I've come home and I've just spoken about all the negative things that's happened and like explained every intricate detail, it's kind of rehashing in my mind all of those negative things or those negative emotions, and you don't want to be carrying those things back with you at home, especially when you're going home to be resting and relaxing and eventually obviously falling asleep of an evening. You don't want to be going to sleep with like a bad mood or a bitter taste in your mouth, because then it's going to be harder to fall asleep as well. So what I would say that you could do is, once you go past your threshold, just try your best to, I know it's so difficult, but try your best to switch off your mind from the events that's happened at the day. If you are one of those people that find that you feel better once just getting everything off your chest, then go for it. But once it's off your chest, just try and leave it and move forward with your evening or your day, because you will feel so much better for it. The next thing is sleep and mood. So sleep and mood are intrinsically linked. So they're just connected to each other. Poor sleep can make us feel irritable and stressed, which in turn makes it more difficult for us to sleep. So there's this picture that I saw, and essentially it was like a circle with arrows on it, and it was like an endless cycle. So in the image, it starts off by showing feelings of worry or stress. Then the next step, it moves on to lack of sleep and tiredness, followed by difficulty with coping with daily life. And then lastly, it leads to low self-esteem. So within that cycle, we can see that it's continuously repeating. And essentially what the image is trying to tell us is that it's up to us to break that cycle by taking care of ourselves and allowing ourselves to have more rest and recovery time where possible. Because ongoing lack of rest can cause a lot of issues, such as like slow reaction times, irritability, and in some cases can contribute to individuals having an overall negative outlook on their day-to-day activities and life. And obviously what we want to do is to have like a positive outlook, and then also to feel fulfilled in our day-to-day life. So some tips with that, I would start off by saying you could set yourself a routine. So what time would you plan on going to bed every night? If you know that you're going to be going to bed quite late because maybe your job requires you to stay at the office or in the building until a certain time, then allow yourself some time when you get back to kind of like unwind, to eat, have a little bit of time to yourself, and then say that, as an example, by 9 o'clock every day you're going to be in bed. So it's difficult on some days, especially when you don't have like that day planned. But if you're someone who you're kind of setting your routine at work, so you know what time you're getting home and stuff like that, then you can try and set yourself a time where you're going to go to bed and go off to sleep. Another thing that I would say as well is to try and avoid drinking coffee, alcohol, or anything containing caffeine before bed. And the reason I say that is because these things are stimulants and will actually do the opposite, and they won't help you to fall asleep. They'll actually keep you awake, because that's what stimulants and caffeine is designed to do. It's designed to make you feel awake and to feel energized. But I actually don't drink coffee, and I avoid like energy drinks and things like that because it doesn't react well with me. But I've also heard of people having like energy drink or caffeine crashes. So in my line of work, which is teaching, you will often see a lot of teachers backing back loads of cups of coffee or drinking loads of like energy drinks and stuff like that. And they're obviously doing it because they want to stay awake and they want to feel energized. But that's going to make it harder for you, especially when you're drinking a cup of coffee when you're getting home and stuff like that. because it's going to be harder for you to fall asleep. So if you can, try and avoid caffeinated things before bed. And then the last one I actually haven't tried, but I have heard a lot of positive things about it. It's to try and not eat at least 2 hours before bed. For me, I like my food, I'll be honest with you, but I'm definitely going to try it, especially if it's going to help me to have a better night of sleep. Another thing as well that I've found has definitely helped with my sleep and my mood is to kind of write down in a diary or on a piece of paper, or I've seen some people do it on a whiteboard. Even if you've had the worst day, and I'll be honest, like these few weeks at work, some days haven't been great, I'll be honest with you. Some days haven't been great, but I've tried to sit down and think about all the positive things that have happened. And I feel as though if I can pick out, even if it's just one positive thing that's happened on that day, and I write it down, it kind of makes me feel good because I'm able to see in black and white, okay, like my whole day wasn't actually that bad. Okay, my whole day wasn't actually that ruined. And then what I've noticed as well, sometimes it's actually the opposite. Like sometimes I will have maybe 10, 15 things to write down that was so good about that day. And then maybe one bad thing happened and I'm so stuck on that one bad thing that I'm not able to kind of get past it. And I've noticed that I'm coming home and it's getting time for me to sleep and I'm still in that irritable mood because I'm still ruminating or, thinking about that one event that happened. So sometimes writing things down or even drawing, if you're artistic, can kind of help you see in black and white what's happened and what hasn't happened. And even if some bad things happened throughout the day, like for me, I've tried to adopt the mindset of like tomorrow is going to be a better day. Do you know what I mean? And it is hard sometimes, especially when you've had a really rough time. And as I said, the past few weeks have been a bit tough at work, but I've found that that's helpful. Well, that's been helpful, should I say, to me. What I'd recommend as well is just having some time to just do nothing. So with me, I'm so get up and go, be active, do this, do that. I think sometimes even when I come home, like when I get in, putting my bag down, taking my work clothes off, and even before like showering or anything like that, just sitting down literally on a chair and just taking 5 or 10 moments just to sit. When you're on your feet all day, and I know it's not just teaching because there's other professions when you're backwards and forwards and you're on your feet for literally most of those 8 hours, just taking the load off and sitting down for 5-10 minutes can actually, well, for me at least, it does somewhat make me feel a bit better. And then getting on with like my nighttime routine, like I said, getting washed and maybe reading a book or getting whatever I need to do out of the way, eating, and then trying to go to sleep, that definitely does help me. But I want to leave you guys with some final thoughts. So very recently I came across this quote, and to me it was really profound. Like, it's not that what he was saying was complex or anything like that. No, what this person was saying was actually quite simple, but it actually gave me some food for thought. So the quote goes, "A moment of self-compassion can change your entire day. A string of such moments can change the course of your life." So that really made me sit down and think, because when we think of compassion, love, kindness, different acts of things like that, we tend to attribute it to giving those things to other people. So we tend to think of us being compassionate or understanding or kind to other people. But it's so important that we're compassionate to ourselves. Sometimes, and it's so hard, especially when you have goals or dreams or things that you want to achieve within a certain timeline, it's so easy to push yourself so much. And it's great to push yourself, as I said, a good work ethic is good. But sometimes it's good to see as well that, just give yourself a break. Like, think of all the things that you actually have done. And I had to say that to myself the other day. I was thinking to myself like, oh, how comes I haven't done this yet? Or how comes I haven't achieved that yet? And then I had to stop myself and think, actually, no, I actually have done really well. I've done this and I've done that. And it kind of did shift my mood and my perspective, because I allowed myself to have a moment of kindness and even self-reflection. And there's a bit within that quote, and it says, "Self-compassion can change your entire day." It's so true. I'll give you an example. Today I had such a challenging day. Like, I was dealing with a lot of difficult students, and I kind of scolded myself on the lunch break, and I was like, oh man, I wish I wasn't so tired and I had more energy to give them. And I wish I wasn't so irritable today because I had like a really bad headache and the kids were being quite challenging. And I had to stop myself and say, like, no, I gave all that I could that day. And as long as I tried my best, then that's all I could do. And it did change my gears for that entire day, because the next lesson that I had after lunch, I was able to actually like really enjoy it. I wasn't so in my head and conscious of like, oh, can the kids tell that I'm so tired, or can they tell that I'm feeling a bit irritable and things like that. No, I just kind of got on with it. So positive thinking leads to positive results. And then lastly is actually a Bible quote that I want to leave you guys with. And it goes, "In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety." And for me, I found that so beautiful when I read it, because it kind of showed me that even when we have the threats of life, or even when we're feeling so tired or feeling like we can't go on, we can kind of like rest in the fact that God is there, and he can take all of our anxieties, burdens and worries. And it kind of made me feel like I wasn't alone, and that I can trust in the Lord to keep me safe. So those are like my final thoughts, and I just wanted to leave you guys with the idea that you guys are all amazing, and just give yourself some time to rest and recuperate. Try where possible to allow yourself to sleep a bit earlier, and to give yourself the adequate amount of sleep. Give yourself enough time to do the things that you actually enjoy. Don't make it just be a case of you going to work in and out and you're not actually doing things where you feel satisfied and working on your hobbies or your goals and things like that. So keep going, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.